Why do you let them win? Every insult, every smirk, every deliberate push of your buttons, you feel it, that heat rising in your chest, that tightness in your jaw. You know you shouldn't react, you know it, but the anger comes anyway, doesn't it? And afterwards, you hate yourself for giving them exactly what they wanted. This was the curse of Takeda Shin. Takeda Shin was not a philosopher, he was a blade. In the courts of the warring states, he served as a royal guard, a position that demanded one thing above all else: control. Stone-faced discipline, the ability to stand for hours without flinching, to absorb insults from drunken nobles, to remain unmoved while chaos swirled around him. But Shin had a weakness. He was a furnace disguised as a man. Every provocation, every mocking laugh, every deliberate push of his buttons was kindling, and the nobles knew it. They played with him, whispered comments about his low-born father, jokes about his scarred hands, deliberate bumps in the hallway. And Shin? He held it together, barely. His fists would clench behind his back, his breathing would quicken, sweat would bead on his temple. He never struck anyone, that would mean execution, but everyone could see it, the trembling rage, the internal war. He was a samurai who had conquered every enemy except himself. It happened during the spring festival. The great hall was filled with lanterns, silk banners, and the laughter of men who'd never held a sword in their lives. Shin stood at his post near the entrance, rigid as always, while Lord Fujimoto, a bloated merchant's son who'd bought his title, held court. Fujimoto was drunk and bored. "Tell me, Takeda," he called out, loud enough for the entire room to hear, "is it true your father died begging, on his knees like a dog?" The room went quiet. Shin's hand moved to his sword, not to draw it, just to touch it. A tiny movement, but everyone saw. Fujimoto laughed. "Fair it is, the little soldier wants to bite." Shin's vision narrowed. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his skull. The rational part of his mind screamed, "Don't," but his body didn't care. His fingers tightened around the hilt. He was one breath away from throwing away his life. And then, "Takeda." The voice came from across the room, Commander Hayashi, an older samurai, silent and watchful. He didn't raise his voice, didn't move, just looked at Shin with those cold gray eyes. The spell broke. Shin released the sword, bowed stiffly, and walked out of the hall. But he didn't walk to his quarters. He walked out of the palace entirely, into the night, into the woods beyond the outer walls. He walked until his legs burned and his lungs ached, and he couldn't hear the laughter anymore. He sat by a frozen river and put his head in his hands. "I am weak," he thought. "I will always be weak." Shin sat there for hours, staring at nothing. And then, movement. A heron, pale and ghostly in the moonlight, landed on the ice at the river's edge. It stood perfectly still, one leg tucked beneath its body, staring into the black water. Shin watched it, numb. The heron didn't move, didn't react. The wind picked up, branches cracked, snow fell, but the bird remained utterly calm, waiting. Then, in a blur, strike! Its beak shot into the water and emerged with a fish, thrashing and silver. The heron swallowed it whole, then returned to its stillness. No anger, no frustration, just waiting. And when the moment came, action, clean, effortless. Shin felt something crack open inside him. The heron hadn't fought the cold, hadn't screamed at the wind. It simply was, until it wasn't, until it needed to move, and then it moved with total precision because it had wasted no energy on anything else. Shin looked down at his hands. They were still shaking. What if the problem isn't that I feel the anger? What if the problem is that I fight it? Every time someone provoked him, he waged war with himself, pushing the rage down, holding it back, building pressure, until one day it would explode. But the heron didn't push anything down. It didn't need to. It simply let the moment pass through it. Shin closed his eyes. He imagined Fujimoto's voice, the insult, the laughter, and instead of clenching against it, he let it arrive, felt the heat bloom in his chest, and then, like watching smoke, he let it drift away. It wasn't control, it was release. When Shin returned to the palace the next morning, nothing had changed. The same halls, the same sneers, the same Fujimoto, still drunk, still cruel. "Ah, the runaway dog returns," he crowed. "Tell me, Takeda, did your father die begging? Did you—" But Shin didn't hear him, not because he blocked it out, not because he forced himself to ignore it, but because the words simply passed, like wind through an open window. Fujimoto frowned, tried again. "Your father." Shin's face remained calm, not strained, not tense, just calm. And in that moment, something shifted. Fujimoto's smile faltered. The room, which had been leaning in to watch Shin break, lost interest, because there was nothing to see. The provocation had landed on stone and disappeared. Later that day, Commander Hayashi approached him. "You left last night," Hayashi said quietly. "I did. And now you've returned." "I have." Hayashi studied him for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. "Good." Takeda Shin never became a man without anger. Anger still came, insults still stung, but he learned the heron's secret. You don't fight the river, you stand in it. When someone provokes you, they're handing you a blade and begging you to cut yourself. The anger, the reaction, the explosion, that's their victory, not yours. Calmness isn't suppression, it's space. You feel the anger, you let it arrive, and then, like the heron watching the water, you simply wait. You don't feed it, don't wrestle it, don't justify it. You let it pass. Because the person who can stand still while the world screams at them, that person is untouchable. The storm cannot move the mountain. Ancient proverb.